Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, those of you who are on Facebook. Good morning, those of you who join us later. And good morning, those of you who are here in the live Zoom studio of the Daily Huddle. Thank you for being here. Thank you for opening your calendar and being part of this morning conversation. I know you told your family, I got to do this at 9, and you did the other, and you took a shower, or you got your coffee to be here. And we appreciate profoundly your presence and the opportunity to be in dialogue with you and create a conversation that sets the tone for the rest of the day. Is the way you start your day gives you the rest of your day, and the way you live each day gives you the rest of your life. So there is a profound truth on what happens the way you start the day. And that's why we have the Daily Huddle. My name is Giovanni Gonzalez, and I am your Transformational Leadership Coach. And today we have a particular guest that I am really fond of. He is my friend, my mentor, my coach. He has been making a difference in my life for so many years. And I am fond of saying this. There is the life I had before I met Saurel, and then there is the life I have after I met Saurel. It's a kind of interruption in the way one lives one life. It's not more of the same. It's not that now I became more passionate or now I became more motivated. No, it was that I had an opportunity to shift the way life occurs for me, the way I occur to myself, the way I occur to my family, the way I see family, the way I see businesses. It has been a kind of an impact that goes in every direction, but it wasn't like now I can run faster. It's that now I have eyes where I didn't have eyes. Now I can hear where things that I couldn't hear before. Now I can say things that I would never dare to say. And it's all under the umbrella of the opportunity of Saurel's coaching. So if you are in business and you want to get a little bit of help in getting yourself out of your own way, Saurel Quettan is your gentleman. He is your best friend. I'm going to say just a few things about him, and then we're going to get us started with a phenomenal question, which is how to create the best stories to sell your business to your clients. How to create the best stories to sell your business to your clients. I want to hear more about that. And I'm going to say just a few things about you, Saurel. Saurel was born and raised in Haiti. He lived in Miami, Florida, and currently resides, and we're lucky to have him here in Atlanta, Georgia. He's a trusted advisor to CEOs, founders, owners, and key executives of small and medium-sized businesses. He is the founder and CEO of exeQfit, a business consulting firm dedicated to empowering leaders, discovering hidden barriers to high performance, and create shared plans to build and sustain an environment for high performance. Saurel has an MBA and a bachelor's degree in electrical engineer, and he's also the co-founder of another company called QM3, who manages a multi-million-dollar asset. So, Saurel, we're lucky to have you. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Giovanni. I am the way I say I am, and I am nervous.
Yes. Now you feel the pressure of being at the Daily Huddle.
It's like, oh my God, I'm now in that other seat, yet really committed to making a difference this morning by sharing with you what I have been practicing. Right? I have been practicing creating a space where I can attract more clients, keep them, and actually grow a multi-million-dollar business. I mean, that's just a really fun game. And this morning, I want to share with you what I've been practicing and what I've learned and discovered to put in place to create the kinds of stories that engage my clients and gets the business to grow. So let's first start with what I've learned I have to have in place. You must have a good brand in place. Now that's before you tell stories, okay? Now you can tell all the great stories you want, unless you have a brand that can support that in a way that makes you look great and makes you look credible, you are toast. So Mark Ham, I'm advertising for you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
If you want to stand on a foundation where you can tell a great story to your clients, you must have, at the very minimum, a great logo that's connected to your business, not just a random phoenix because you like that, a great business card, and certainly a great website. Now that's table stakes, right? Once you have that, you can actually do something called marketing. And Giovanni, I'm about to advertise for you. To market effectively, standing on the shoulders of a great brand, you need to have the ability and capacity to target your clients. Shotgun approaches don't work anymore. To attract them with the right message anchored to the brand, and then to now have them become leads and prospects. Now, the minute that happens, and that's happening on an ongoing basis, you get to be the ambassador for your business. And an ambassador represents the business. And to represent your business, you actually need to think about the audiences and the countries you represent your business to. You have your leads and clients. You also have referrers, people who would refer you. You also have gate openers, people who are influential and might open gates for you. And then you have your existing clients. The mistake I have been making is speaking to all four of these audiences as if there were one. Some I have to sell to, some I have to educate, others I have to nurture. So I'm about to share with you 4 types of stories that I've found effective. And each time I tell the story, I'll also link it to the target audience and give you a sense of the difference between being an ambassador to your leads and your prospects, or being an ambassador to a referrer. So there are 4 types of stories that I find that I've been practicing and find really effective. The first kind of story is a really short story, the kind of story that you'd have on the back of a business card. No more than 10 to 12 words. If you can get it down to 7, that's even better. Now, that story is linked to why your business exists. So on the back of my business card, I have this story. I'm helping leaders make great decisions that benefit their companies, families, and companies. Now, the characteristic of that little short story is that it needs to be in bold human terms. Here's another example. At NASA, there was a janitor, and President Kennedy asked the janitor, "What are you doing?" And the janitor responded, "I'm helping put a man on the moon." So your story that goes on the back of your business card is the equivalent of that. For me, I am helping high integrity leaders make great decisions that benefit their companies, their families, and their communities. You need that story. That story needs to be connected to who you say you are and who your business is for your leads and prospects. Your referrers need to hear that too, but your referrers need to hear something different, and your clients need to hear something different. Another side of storytelling that I've found really effective in my practice is to tell a story where you, the business owner, is featured in the story, not as the hero, but as one of the characters. Here's an example of mine. I was in 4th grade and my teacher caught me cheating. I was so embarrassed. Now, that was 4th grade. Fast forward 40 some years. Here I am. I work really hard. I work alone. All that to avoid the guilt and embarrassment that I suffered when I was in 4th grade. So that story is connected to a result that my client can get, but I'm demonstrating that result through my own life. See, my working hard and the pride I get from that, my working alone and the pride I get from knowing I'm the one who gets the credit, keeps me from building a team around me. Yet I'm so anchored and so driven to avoid the embarrassment I suffered when I was in 4th grade. See, when I tell that story, I'm painting a picture for a prospect or client that they are, for them, barriers to performance that they can't even see, stemming from things that happened a long, long time ago. And now here they are. That's another type of story. That story allows you to be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, it makes you accessible and approachable by your leads and your prospects. You're not there selling. You're there sharing and demonstrating the kinds of results they can get when they work with you. Now, let's shift a little bit to the referrers. How many of you go to network meetings and you sell, and tell people about your products, but those people are not there to buy from you? They're there because they potentially could open gates for you and refer you. So one of the common mistakes I used to make is to actually go to a networking meeting and sell. You don't go to a networking meeting to sell. I don't anymore. I go to a networking meeting to educate the people who could refer me, so that when they bump up against or see my ideal client, they're able to identify them very quickly and effectively and connect me. So I'm going to read you an example of a story that I tell every Tuesday morning to a group of 15 people who are referrers. Now, the story goes like this. Joe's a gifted engineer who founded his company 7 years ago. I want you to listen to the components of the story and listen to see if you hear me selling anything. Joe's a gifted engineer who founded his company 7 years ago. Though he's now the CEO, he's still inspired by doing the work. And often his passion for the craft has him do the work of his bright, confident employees who cannot wait to make their contributions. Now, when Joe first came to me, guess what Joe said? Joe said, there is no way I'm spending a whole day in a meeting with you. I've got too many hats to wear and I just don't have the time. Well, guess what? Members of my peer advisory board spend an entire day with me. That structure gives them the possibility of learning to delegate effectively. Now, if you ask Joe to go out for a cup of coffee before Joe met me, Joe would have told you, no way, I just don't have the time. I can't do that. I wish I could. Now, when you hear Joe say that, you'll know that Joe fits in the category of CEOs, owners, and founders who are worried and wondering, how can I delegate safely? Now, Joe's way beyond that now. Joe spends a day a month away from his business. And that day a month has now bought him over 30% of his time back because he's delegating more and more. So that story features a client. Guess who's the hero in that story? The client. And last but not least, you create stories that connect the dots. The dot you want to connect is the dot between your services and how you deliver them and why you exist to the ultimate people that benefit. So Jim came to me not too long ago, and I had Jim rate his life in 8 separate areas, including his personal life, his spiritual life, and he rated his spiritual life a 5. And I said, Jim, where would you like to see your spiritual life? And by when? He said, I'd like to see my spiritual life up to an 8 by tomorrow. I said, well, let's get to work. Well, we got to work. And what Jim created was a practice for himself that would actually get him to say with honor and integrity that his spiritual life is back to an 8 or at an 8. But what he didn't expect is that when he did that consistently, his relationship with his wife and daughter would improve, and that the way he sees and views his employees at work would also improve. Now, his employees come up to him and say, what happened? Something's different about you. So the dot that you're connecting with this story is the fact that I'm in business to impact CEOs so that they impact the world around them. So from the morning that Jim gets up and goes into spiritual practice to the time when his employee clocks out, those two are very connected, and you want to tell stories that connect the dot for your clients. So 4 types of stories. On your business card, short and sweet, connected to your anchor why. A story that puts you in the picture and makes you vulnerable and makes you approachable. A story that features your client as the hero. And last but not least, a story that connects the dot between what your business stands for and does and the ultimate impact on someone way beyond your clients. I've been practicing that. I've found them effective, and I'm going to keep practicing. This is not the kind of thing where you go, oh my God, like Joanne was saying earlier. Joanne says, Saurel, I'm here so I can hear your secrets. Yeah, they're not secrets, right? They're practices. You want to have a great brand. You want to market, but ultimately a great brand and great marketing serves you no purpose unless you're opening your mouth and being the ambassador for your business. And as the ambassador for your business, your biggest, most effective tool are the stories you tell. There's no right story to tell. There's just a story to tell. When, Gio?
Now.
Right now. So the story you tell actually comes from the interaction you're having with the person that's in front of you right now. And that person could be a lead or prospect, different kind of story. Someone who's out to refer you, different kind of story to educate and connect. An existing client, a story that connects the dot and keeps your client with you forever. Giovanni, that's all I've got to say this morning.
Saurel, thank you so much. I was taking notes on the 4 different stories, and I was just quite present to the opportunity that you are inviting us to discover, right? That there is a story that connects the different audience that I'm with, and the trap would be, or the pitfall would be, to have the same story for everybody.
Yeah.
Given that, you know, stories connect, but if that's not, if my audience is not dealing with that story, then it will be just kind of a nice thing they heard, rather than the opportunity to connect to the next future, right? To the opportunity to connect to the next audience. And so it's you're pointing to something very critical. And I think that also when I'm present is that stories connect. And if I take my time in discovering the stories that are being built in my business already, like there are stories happening all the time in our businesses. And if I just could grab them and then give them some direction, I can share it with my audience. So
You make an awesome point, Gio. That's why I call it a practice. There's no right story, but there is the practice of creating stories so you can build a repertoire of stories. So the 4 categories I mentioned to you, it's not just one story in each category. It's being in business, seeing the stories unfold and documenting them. So by the time you'll never be done. So not by the time you're done. As you're practicing, you'll be accumulating stories in each of those categories. Short 6 to 12 word stories to connect people to why you're in business.
In my 20s, I'm going to say something, but I really want to invite those of you who want to ask questions, and just go ahead and raise your electronic hand or whatever. I remember in my early 20s, I had the opportunity. I was in a trip, and I was in California, Saurel, and I had the opportunity to be in a retreat with a lot of people that were just really, really successful. And there was one gentleman who was part of a board of a line of banks in Central America. So he owned different banks, and everyone kind of was talking about him, like, oh, he's here. Oh my God, he's here. Who's going to talk to him? And the reason is because recently Forbes had made him a billionaire. And so he was at the time where being a billionaire was not as popular as now. And he was like, oh my gosh, you want to talk to him. And so I talked to him. I went and I, got courage for myself. I'm like, I'm going to talk to this guy. And he was next to the pool table. And I forgot his name right now. And he said, I asked him, what was his name? Anyway, I'm going to say John. I said, John, can I ask you a quick question? He's like, sure, anything. And he says, how did you make it? How did you build this big empire for yourself? I want to do that. And he said, I never forgot it. He said, become good at storytelling. That's what he said. Become good at storytelling. And I said, come on. And he says, I'm serious. And then the next thing he said, which I'm going to add because that's what he said, most of the people I work with don't know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So relax. It's not that difficult. But anyway, that's besides the point. So yes, become good at storytelling. And you're just kind of connecting it for me now. And so I appreciate that. So I'd love to hear from some of you who are here in the audience, what questions you have, what comments you have, what's opening up for you. Go ahead.
Oh, what short story do you want to tell?
Go ahead, Rose.
I don't know, but I absolutely love that. I just never thought about it that way before. So I just want to say I'm going to start recording my stories. That's the only place I know to start. Thank you for that. I'm just like kind of taken, right? Thank you.
And, Cheryl girl, go ahead.
A question. Your first point about the short story on the back of your business card, that really made me think about, what is my story? What do I want to tell people about what it is that I'm trying to do? So I think I'll be spending the day doing a little self-reflection. And I kind of came up with it. My voice engages your clients to buy your product. So I don't know if is that enough? Or is that too bold?
Well, I don't know. It's got to resonate for you.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the type of business you're in, right? So you want to put it in bold human terms that are easily understood and are connected to the results that your client gets.
Well, that's definitely something to think about. A lot of good points you made today. Thank you.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to add, Giovanni, you triggered that, right? We are all good storytellers. We are, right? So the guy did say, get good at storytelling. And I'll modify that just a bit. Practice telling stories. Speak in stories. Stories are all around you. Capture them and tell them. Because guess what? Yeah, there are people who are very practiced and are great storytellers, but don't wait until you get there to start telling stories. This is not, hey, I'm going to get good at storytelling so I can tell stories. No, this is tell stories, right? Tell stories over and over, over and over. Practice telling stories.
Yeah.
Jamal,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jamal. Thank you, Showgirl. Thank you, Rose.
Oh, good morning. So there are a lot of things swirling around in my head right now about telling stories. And it goes back to a little bit of what Giovanni said, but it's, does the storytelling come from listening, right? So if you're really present to what makes a difference for Churl Girl, like my story fits what Churl Girl needs, right? So does the story come from listening first to really be in the world of Churl Girl and what I make available for her and in her world? And then secondly, when Giovanni shared about the rich guy, become great at storytelling, but he said something that was very powerful at the end of that. Like, I don't know what I'm doing and my executives don't know what they're doing, so chill out. Right? So what I heard in that was the world of play. We play our way to the top. Like, there isn't a world of knowing how to get there. There's a world of we get to play our way to the top. Like, we get to just play with what's possible and we get to try this on, try that on. There is no direct way to the top. It's a world of play.
I love what Jamal is saying. I can tell Jamal is going to be the next speaker at the Daily Huddle.
Aha!
This was awesome, Jamal. Yeah, I love how you connected the dots, Jamal. I know that was going to Saurel, but I was just so captivated by what you were saying, Jamal, that I loved it. Go ahead, Saurel. And we got.
I mean, you pegged it so on the nose, right? So Jamal's been sitting on an invitation for maybe a couple of weeks now. So maybe that's just the nudge. Yeah. At any rate, Jamal, yes and yes. And here's the first yes. The first yes is the story you tell in the moment is given by the listening and where the person you're speaking to is and who that person is. So you would not tell a story to a lead or prospect that you would tell to a referrer. Two different audiences. And you would not tell a story to an existing client that you tell to a lead. Different story, right? Yet, for you to be able to be in the listening, you're not crafting that story in that moment. It's a story that you've already added to the repertoire. So you must be continually in the business of recording, creating, crafting stories for the different audiences. And then, just like Gio said, relax, chill out. You don't need to know a thing. Just be here. And when somebody says X, Y, Z, it will trigger in your brain an appropriate story to give you the opportunity to serve that moment. So yes and yes.
Thank you, Saurel. Thank you, Jamal. We'll look forward to see your application to be at the Daily Huddle as a speaker. Rose, I think you raised your hand again, right? Or was it stayed there? No? Okay, very good. Well, Saurel, it has come the time to let you go. And as I am fond of saying, I wish I could kidnap you a little bit
I just
more.
want to say thank you all. Thank you, Saurel. That was amazing today.
Thank you,
I had to just jump
Jacqueline.
here real quick as I'm in traffic up here. But
Good
thank you,
car,
thank you.
Jacqueline.
I will get my stories together, okay?
Get your stories together, girl.
Jacqueline is just like awesome. I love her car.
Thank you, Gio.
Very good. Well, it has come the time, Saurel. What are your last words, Saurel? Thank you for being here.
Well, when I was little, every night, my mother would sit me around the table with a cup of tea and some bread. And she'd go, click. And I'd respond, clack. Now, in Haiti, this is how you start every story. So go around today and for the rest of your life saying, click. And though your audience may not know how to respond, that will be your trigger to tell a story. Every conversation can be a story. Have fun.
Saurel, thank you.
Clap.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love it. Those of you who are on Facebook, thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Ready to get us started again with the joke of the day. I love you. Bye-bye.
Don't get hit by a vicious cycle, okay?
Well, I'm gonna have you do your first 5 minutes in my next push. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye, Mark.
All right.
Good day.